Hey everybody, it's Eric Beach, and welcome to my continuing journey to becoming a published author. Today I want to focus on two topics. One is related to Bleak and where I'm at procedurally in the story crafting process as it relates to making really important decisions and building in the meaty bits on top of the bone that you've already laid as far as the general feel and direction of the story, as well as my own mental health and my connection with it and creativity. So first, story. Where am I at in the story? Well, I have a long way to go still, of course, but I find myself going back and building out more details and seeding in a little bit more character to my characters in certain scenes. Because up to this point, I've written a short story, 13,000 words, something like that, that took you from the start of the story to the end of the story, which will not be the end. It'll be more like the middle. I don't exactly know how much I'm going to write after it, because I do plan on building it out into a series. So once the end of the original short story happens, it's going to open up into a whole big expansive world, because I do enjoy, at least personally for me, sitting with one character, getting to know them a little bit, their world. Like right now, I haven't done enough, I believe, to let you develop a relationship with Bram, the main character. I haven't shown enough of who he is subtly yet, so I'm going to be obviously going back and developing it, but right now I'm just trying to get the broad strokes down, and where I feel compelled and want to make sure I nail, I add in little details. Because the first part of the book, there's not a lot of dialogue necessarily. It's a lot of inner monologue, not monologue, but it's a lot of describing where Bram is, some of the feelings, some of the history of the world very limitedly, but I will go back and expand on that a little bit, not to give everything away, but to better understand the current circumstance he's in. And then when he meets the elder, he has a lot more conversation, and that's where the first bit of world opening really comes into focus. And I'm at a point in the story where I have to really make some decisions. Not that you can't go back and change, but when you make certain concrete decisions and they start to weave into the rest of the narrative of the story, it gets really hard to go back and tease them out if you want to go a different direction. So it feels like there's an intensity here where I'm being very cautious and slow to really make sure that I know what I want the world to be. I know what I want the outcome to be, or the direction at least, because there is a certain element of discovery in the process. As in, I have some ideas of what I want, but I don't have a solid grasp on like, no, this is the direction I want to go. In some ways, I'm discovering the story, some of the elements as I write them, and then I'll have an idea and I'll go back and I'll add that, or I'll think about it and make sure it fits. But it's an exciting and stressful time, really exciting and stressful. And sometimes that gets to you, the stress of it. The stress that I feel is silly because nothing's actually happening. I'm not beholden to a result. I don't have a readership that's been waiting for my written word, been waiting for this novel and getting like restless. But no matter what, no matter who, I am always going to be that for myself. I want to create. I want to be productive. And in creativity, there's no real guarantee there's going to be an audience. So in that way, it's not like I have to make this work for anyone else but myself. So that stress is self-imposed because I want excellence. I want to create something worthy. I want to create something I love. And I can have really high standards. And the funny part about it is I can observe and analyze, but then when I put it to my own work, it's never going to measure up to what I think it should. So I've had to learn how to just enjoy it and not be so critical. Otherwise, I'm not going to ever release anything. I have these cards that I've, worked on for over a year. Well, no, I worked on them for a year, and then I tried to get them published, and there was some issues with printer, and I just never did. But I finally figured out a solution, a workaround. So I have 50 of them ready to go. I think there's a total of 60. It's been a long time since I've really addressed it, but I made these oracle cards. So they're cards for the hero's journey. And the idea behind them when I was a wellness coach was I was going to make these cards, sell them to clients, or do online tutorials. If you go back in my feed, you might see some of them pop up in the corner of the video where I give a reflection based on that card. But they all relate to the hero's journey, and more specifically to the story of Iron John. Almost all of them do, or are elements of that story. And I'm also writing that novel. That will be another thing. So I was going to pair this deck of cards with this novel because there is a direct connection. But there's some like conflict or fear, the threshold guardians of fear, of failure, of conflict that aren't visually connected to the Iron John, which I will be renaming, but that's the fairy tale that inspired the bigger story. That is not directly connected to it, but it's hero's journey. There's threshold guardians I believe in, and you have to pay a toll, essentially, sacrifice something to these threshold guardians to move forward on the hero's journey. So maybe the thing holding your hero back in your story, your life story, or in my book or a novel is they have to sacrifice the lack of conflict, their avoidance of conflicts, because if they don't, they'll never push forward. So they have to stand up firmly. So they have to sacrifice the anxieties, the uncertainty, whatever it is that's holding them back from engaging in conflict. They have to let that go so they can embrace the conflict, engage in it, and then step across that threshold and go on to the next part of the hero's journey. So they're actually called the Hero's Journey deck, and I have solved it, I think. I've been redoing them and uploading them to the company, and I'll see. I'm going to get a sample deck at some point pretty soon here. I'm hoping in the next month or so, and see if they turn out good. And if they do, then I'll probably be offering them. So that's something to keep your eye out for if you're interested. You'll see more about them. I'll share them here on this channel for sure, and I might tie them into some messages in the future. But the final thing, unless something else comes up, that I want to talk about is mental health. I'm exhausted. I've been tired. I go through these phases of incredible energy and extreme fatigue. Nothing changes in my diet or exercise or workload, even stress. It's just a fluctuation that I experience and have experienced for most of my life, that I can be two different people, and I can, to a degree, sort of conjure a certain persona for a moment, for an hour. You know, if I have to go somewhere to be social, I can sort of, if I'm not in that mode, I can sort of bring it up and, you know, get through it. And my push is to make sure everyone's comfortable and not focused on me and being like, what's wrong with him? Because sometimes I'm completely fine. I don't want to talk. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be social. I'd rather not be there. And if I am there, I'm just going to go get lost in my own mind and, you know, survive the experience. Not to say that I'm like in trauma or something, but you know what I mean? It's this idea that I don't want to be there, but it's not like I am suffering immensely as long as I don't have to talk to people. But people look at that some in the past and have been worried that my mental health is bad or I'm depressed or sad. I can be, but just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I am those things. I just would rather be doing something else that I think is better for me. And that's not always possible, even for my children. You know, it's called a push. Like, is this going to be a push for you, or is this too much? And putting yourself in a position to feel the push and feel that pressure of growth trying to occur to, you know, make you more capable of, you know, doing more, experiencing more, that's valuable. But then it can push way too far where someone just chucks you in a lake and says, hey, figure out how to swim. Same with working out. You know, your progressive overload. This is your ability to hold more weight, increase your capacity to do work, to experience certain environments, because they are part of life. And mental health for me has never been an excuse. It's been a roadmap to understanding. And when you have understanding, you have clarity, and you can choose what you need to do, because now you're making a choice from an empowered place. So me being exhausted, I understand that I didn't necessarily do anything wrong. This is just one of those moments where, hey, the cards fell the way they fell, and I can still do things. I can still sit down and make a video. I can still edit, you know, some of my cards. I can still write a bit, because every weekday I am writing in the morning. I can still go for walks with my children. I can still, you know, manage their schoolwork. I might not be as active or energetic in some of the concepts or connection, but, you know, hopefully everything goes well, and it doesn't require it, because it doesn't always require me to do stuff. My children love to teach themselves things, and that's part of why we homeschool, is because I want to empower that ability for them to go and learn the things that they need to learn, versus being told specifically what to learn. Now, that doesn't include math. Like, I still will have very structured math books and work problems and that kind of stuff, because it's hard to, I don't know how I would ever teach myself math, but that was one of those core fundamentals in school that I really hated, but wasn't going to get outside. If it was left to me, I'd be like, well, I'm just not going to learn math. But I've been tired for a few days and kind of zoned out. And I think sometimes when I do that, I'm doing it because I'm saving energy so that when I'm needed, I have it. There was this sort of malaise, this sort of apathy that used to make me worried that I was something was wrong with me because I just didn't care. And now I realize that I care so much. I think and reflect so much. I am very introspective. I'm analyzing everyone around me, what they said, how they moved, and I'm trying to make sense of it all. And also dealing with that is a lot of energy drain. So the answer to that, I think my mind will switch to not caring about anything, just being numb, not depressed, sometimes depressed, but mostly it's like this flat level of living out of necessity. Because if you feel something so much, it can eventually overwhelm and destroy you, I think. In my novel Bleak, this is sort of one of the concepts I'm exploring is balance. And this world of Bleak is this state of me where I'm flat, unfeeling, nothing tastes, there's no sensation. It's just, I'm tired. And I'm trying really hard to get through the situation, life, whatever I'm in, I'm trying to get through it. And I'm just like, I don't feel anything. And then as the world opens up, he experiences things and loves the experience. And I love the experience. I would hate to live an apathetic life, but I'm trying to learn to give myself grace for when the apathy comes, realizing it's reflexive. It's because I've opened myself up creatively or emotionally, empathetically to support people, to support myself, to just have fun so much that I need the opposite. You need both active and passive. So I'm passive right now. Again, it's not a bad thing. It's not pity me. It's not cater to me. It's me understanding me. And that's the point of mental health, is understanding the architecture of your brain and your mind and your emotions so that you can understand what's happening right now and what you need to do about it. And when you're a father, when you're a mother, when you're a partner, I think that becomes incredibly important because you have to understand each other's roadmaps and they have to understand yours. So my kids understand where I'm at and we'll check in and I'll check in with them. And they know that, I'm not mad at them. I'm not depressed. I'm not anything like that. It's one of those days. I'll censor it here, I guess, but we call them throwaway days sometimes where it's like, this not going to get a lot accomplished, just basic chores and things like that, but it's not going to be a big, amazing day. And thank God not every day has to be, because otherwise if every day is an amazing day, then no day is amazing. And it's just kind of this flat existence like Bleak, except in Bleak, the flat existence is misery. Born from something, but what could it be born from? That I will not reveal on this channel. I'll close with this though. How much do you reveal on a channel? When you're writing a book and you're sharing that process, how do you ensure that you still make the book interesting because the people following don't know everything about it? I hope I thread that needle, but I don't know. Maybe you guys can guide me on that with details of things that you'd be interested in knowing about the book writing process, about Bleak specifically, about the hero's journey. I would really like to know what you'd like to hear more about as I reflect on these things. And I want to say thank you for those who have reached out and commented. It means a lot to me because I'm not just talking to a camera. I do this because it's sort of like a video journal for myself. I don't like writing in a journal. I like writing novels, but not writing a journal. This to me feels like that, because when I speak out loud, even if I've written something and then speak it out loud, that's how I got over some of my traumas of the past, was writing down the experience and then reading it out loud to my therapist. And that writing process was emotional, and then the reading process made it even more emotional. So now I learned that if you are to, me specifically and many others, to heal, to grow, to express has to be verbal as well as written. It's not either or, it's usually both and. And so this has been a platform for me to express myself to a lens verbally and share it with others, because like I said, I don't always have the ability to communicate clearly. I do have a great ability to communicate. I talk to people. I do it all the time. No, not all the time. That's one of those things that I say, and I'm like, I don't mean all the time. I mean sometimes. But we all tend to have this inflammatory language where we say all the time instead of sometimes, or when I do talk, I can have a great conversation if I'm in the right mind space. I just lost my train of thought. I don't remember, but In the edit, I will remember, and I'll be like, oh, I should have said this. This is what I was going to say, but I lost it. And sometimes that's how ADHD works, because now I forgot everything I said in this almost this whole video. So maybe I should end it before I pretend like I know what I'm talking about anymore. Anyways, thank you guys for following along. And again, please, if there's anything you want me to talk about, let me know, because I'd be happy to do it. Gonna go get the kitchen ready for the refrigerator repairman, because our freezer has been dead for a while now. And we need it back, because currently I'm going to the basement for our chest freezer, which I'm glad we have, but it'll be nice to actually have a freezer again in our new fridge that should still be working. So get some writing done, get the kitchen cleaned and ready and prepped. And then I don't know, maybe edit this video. I don't know. We'll see what the day brings, because that's all part of my modern myth, my hero's journey, which doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes it's just a snapshot of a day and doing what you need to do, because the hero leans into adversity, faces discomfort, and does what they must, not just what they want. And if I did what I wanted all day, I'd probably be reading and not talking to anybody today. And that's not going to happen. So here's to the hero's journey. And until next time, journey well, my friends.